Let's get one thing straight from the beginning. Nobody owes you anything, not the world, not your friends, not your boss, not even life itself. The truth, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your excuses, your complaints, or your past. The world doesn't slow down because you're tired, heartbroken, or misunderstood. It keeps moving, and the only question is, will you move with it or get left behind? That may sound harsh, but it's actually the most liberating truth you can ever embrace. Because once you understand that nobody is coming to save you, you stop waiting, and you start working. You stop justifying your failures, and you start building something better, not because someone is watching, not because someone is clapping, but because deep down you've decided, this is my life, and I will own every inch of it. We live in a time where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated. But what if I told you that your validation doesn't come from others? It comes from the discipline to show up even when no one's clapping. You don't rise by convincing the world you're worthy. You rise by proving it to yourself, through the quiet, consistent grind that nobody sees, through the early mornings when you could sleep in, through the lonely nights when you could give up, through the silence when no one's encouraging you, and all you've got is your own breath and your own grit. Because success isn't found in the spotlight, it's built in the dark. You see, the moment you stop needing applause, you become unstoppable. The day you stop waiting to be chosen is the day you choose yourself. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop comparing, you stop competing, and you start becoming. Becoming the kind of person who shows up whether anyone notices or not. Becoming the kind of person who gets better when no one's watching. Becoming the kind of person who doesn't fold under pressure, but rises through it. In a world that constantly screams for attention, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking approval. Social media has conditioned many of us to measure our worth based on likes, comments, and validation from people who don't even know our name. But growth doesn't come from applause. It comes from the grind. It comes from those uncomfortable, uncelebrated moments when you push forward even though no one notices. Seeking approval might feel good in the short term, but it creates a dependence that silently kills your ambition. When your progress depends on praise, you become addicted to feedback instead of becoming obsessed with mastery. The truth is, you don't need someone clapping for you to make progress. You don't need someone watching to give your best. The real question is, what are you doing when no one is watching? Are you still grinding when the spotlight is off? Are you still committed when there's no external reward? That's where real progress is born. It's born in isolation, in silence, in the late nights and early mornings when the world is asleep and you're wide awake, building something that no one understands yet. That kind of progress doesn't require permission. It requires personal responsibility. You don't ask the world to believe in you before you begin. You start with belief in yourself, and you let your work speak louder than your words. Approval seeking is subtle. It can look like over-explaining your dreams to people who don't get it. It can sound like, what will they think? Or will they support me? But when you stop needing a cheerleader, you become your own source of motivation. You learn to appreciate the process instead of chasing a performance. You learn to commit even when the road gets hard because your purpose is greater than someone else's opinion. If you're waiting for someone to say you're good enough, you'll wait forever. But the moment you decide that your approval is enough, you shift from hoping to asterisk doing asterisk, from waiting to asterisk building asterisk. The ones who make real impact are the ones who show up even when nobody notices. They're not in it for the validation. They're in it for the transformation. They don't post every move because they're too busy improving every move. They understand that real growth isn't flashy. It's not glamorous. It's quiet, steady, and personal. It's fueled by internal fire, not external recognition. When you shift your focus from being noticed to being better, everything changes. You stop comparing. You stop competing. You start learning. You start evolving. You stop asking for a seat at someone else's table, and you build your own. You're no longer trying to impress. You're trying to improve. You're no longer worried about whether people approve of your progress, because your progress is rooted in purpose. It's easy to believe that someone is coming to rescue you. It's comforting to think that maybe one day someone will recognize your pain, understand your struggle, and offer you a shortcut to the life you dream of. But that's not how growth works. Nobody is coming. Nobody else is responsible for your life. The moment you realize that your journey is entirely your own, everything changes. That truth may sting at first, but it is also the foundation of unshakable strength. When you stop waiting for permission and start owning every part of your path, you begin to see how much power you actually hold. Every challenge, every setback, and every obstacle is part of your personal training ground. These moments aren't meant to destroy you. They're meant to build you, and no one else can walk that road for you. No mentor, no friend, no partner can do the work that only you are meant to do. Advice can guide you. Encouragement can lift you, but the action, the commitment, the discipline, the decision to rise, that belongs to you and you alone. Taking full ownership of your journey means recognizing that your results are the outcome of your choices. It means dropping the blame, releasing the excuses, and standing face to face with the truth. You are the architect of your life. That doesn't mean it will be easy. In fact, it means you'll face moments when the weight feels unbearable. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll feel alone. But those are the very moments that define your path. Because every time you choose to move forward without needing applause, every time you choose to rise when no one believes in you, every time you hold yourself accountable when it would be easier to quit, you build a version of yourself that no one can take away from you. That level of ownership becomes a superpower. It separates the talkers from the doers. It separates the dreamers from the builders. You are the only one who knows what it took to survive your darkest days. You are the only one who understands the price of your progress. That makes your path sacred. It makes your journey uniquely yours. The world may never fully understand your sacrifices, and that's okay. Because your goal isn't to be understood, it's to become unstoppable. There's something deeply powerful about taking ownership of your story, especially the parts that others don't see. The early mornings when you forced yourself out of bed. The nights you cried but kept going. The days you doubted yourself but still showed up. That's ownership. That's personal leadership. That's resilience forged in the fire of responsibility. No one can give you your purpose. No one can hand you your destiny. You have to claim it, commit to it, and carry it, even when it feels like a burden. You have to walk through the storms, climb the mountains, and take the steps no one else is willing to take, because the only person truly capable of changing your life is the one looking back at you in the mirror. There's a quiet power in doing the work when no one's watching. In a world obsessed with broadcasting every move, every small win, and every accomplishment, we've slowly forgotten the importance of working in silence. We've forgotten that the foundation of greatness is laid in obscurity, not in the spotlight. When you commit to the process instead of the performance, you begin to understand that progress doesn't need to be loud. In fact, it's often the quiet moments, the ones behind the scenes, the early mornings, the late nights, the grind that no one ever sees, that carry the most weight in defining who you are and who you will become. There's something incredibly grounding about choosing to build in silence. It keeps you humble. It keeps you hungry. When you stop needing external validation, your focus sharpens. You're no longer distracted by the need to impress. You're immersed in the mission to improve. The world may not be watching, but you are. You know whether you showed up fully or gave half effort. You know when you're coasting and when you're pushing. That inner honesty becomes the foundation of your discipline. You stop faking success and start building it, brick by brick, with consistency that isn't driven by likes or applause, but by integrity and vision. Noise doesn't create results. Work does. And the most impactful results are often the quietest in their creation and the loudest in their impact. They arrive after months or years of unseen effort. They're the result of unseen sacrifices, unspoken discipline, and unshared struggles. They don't announce themselves in real time. They don't need filters, captions, or hashtags. They speak when the time is right through transformed lives, through extraordinary performance, through results that no one can deny. That's the kind of noise that lasts. That's the kind of noise that matters. When you work in silence, you begin to develop a relationship with the process itself. You no longer chase the next highlight reel moment. Instead, you fall in love with the repetition, the boring, unglamorous, relentless repetition. You begin to see progress in the form of discipline. You start measuring success not by what others say, but by how much you've grown, and that's when everything changes. You shift from being performance-driven to being purpose-driven. You stop obsessing over what people think, and you start focusing on what you are becoming. Every step forward taken in silence is a seed planted for something greater. It may not look like much now. It may not draw attention or praise, but over time, those quiet steps build momentum, they build character, they build mastery, and one day, when the results begin to speak, the world will wonder where you came from. They'll call it overnight success, but you'll know the truth. You'll know about the silent mornings, the quiet grind, the lonely work, and the invisible resilience it took to get there. Motivation is powerful, but it's unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days it's high, other days it's non-existent. Waiting for motivation to show up before you act is like waiting for perfect conditions to plant a seed. If you want real growth, real progress, real transformation, you can't rely on how you feel. You have to build the habit of showing up, regardless of your emotional state. That's what discipline is. It's the decision to move forward even when you don't feel like it. It's the muscle you build when you refuse to let your moods dictate your actions. It's the daily commitment to excellence even in the absence of excitement or ease. Discipline starts where motivation ends. It kicks in on the days when you'd rather rest, procrastinate, or distract yourself. It reminds you of your standards. It pulls you back into alignment with your goals. The people who achieve greatness don't do so because they're always inspired. They do so because they've trained themselves to act independently of their emotions. They've created routines and structures that carry them through the valleys of low energy and emotional resistance. They show up when it's raining. They put in the work when no one's watching. They stay consistent even when life gets messy, uncertain, or exhausting. Because for them, doing the work isn't optional, it's a non-negotiable part of who they are. You don't need motivation to get started. You need a reason that's stronger than your excuses, a reason that's rooted in purpose, not comfort. Discipline is born from that reason. It's the internal agreement you make with yourself that no matter how you feel, you will honor your commitment. You will respect your own word, because what you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. And your results will always reflect the standard you're willing to uphold, even when the feelings aren't there to support it. Discipline builds momentum. At first, it's hard. It feels like a fight. You'll resist it, argue with it, try to bargain your way out of it. But the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes, and eventually, what used to require force becomes second nature. The workouts, the early mornings, the study sessions, the late night effort, it becomes who you are, not just what you do. Discipline rewires your identity. It shapes your mindset. It teaches you to value consistency over bursts of energy and purpose over temporary feelings. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. You prove to yourself that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. You prove that you have control, that you have grit, that you have the ability to rise above short-term temptation for long-term reward. That self-trust you develop is priceless. It builds confidence, character, and clarity. It separates the committed from the casual, the prepared from the passive, the focused from the fragile. Discipline is not a punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. Comparison is a silent killer. It sneaks into your mind not with loud alarms, but with subtle whispers. Look how far ahead they are. Why don't I have what they have? What if I'm not good enough? It takes your focus away from your own path and redirects it towards someone else's journey. A journey you can't fully understand because you haven't lived their pain, their sacrifices, their sleepless nights. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You're judging your chapter 2 against someone's chapter 20. And every time you do that, you rob yourself of the chance to be fully present and fully committed to your own growth. Your race is yours. The timing, the pace, the direction, it's all tailored to your purpose. And when you start looking sideways, when you start measuring your progress based on someone else's milestones, you forget how unique your mission really is. You forget that your worth isn't determined by how fast you reach the finish line, but by how true you remain to the process. The constant comparison creates a sense of inadequacy, not because you're lacking, but because your focus has shifted from becoming to competing. You weren't built to replicate someone else's journey. You were built to evolve into the highest version of yourself. Staying in your lane requires strength. It requires self-awareness, because the temptation to compare is always present. Especially in a world where everyone is posting their wins, showcasing their lifestyles, curating images of success that don't always reflect the full reality. What you don't see are the losses behind the wins, the failures behind the breakthroughs, the mental battles behind the smiles. And yet, we absorb it all as if it's a direct reflection of what we're missing. The truth is, you're not behind, you're not less capable, you're not late, you're on your path, you're in motion, and if you just stay focused long enough, everything that's meant for you will unfold in its own time. The greatest freedom you'll ever experience comes from breaking the habit of comparison. When you look forward instead of sideways, you find peace, you find clarity, you regain control of your energy, and you pour it back into what matters: your purpose, your process, your progress. Every ounce of time spent envying someone else's journey is time stolen from building your own. And the more you allow yourself to celebrate others without questioning your worth, the stronger and more secure you become in your identity. You don't need to be better than anyone else. You need to be better than the version of yourself from yesterday. That's the only competition that matters. You are your standard. You are your pace setter. You are your own greatest rival and your greatest ally. And when you lock into that mentality, comparison loses its grip. You realize that the only way to win is to run your own race at your own speed, with your own relentless focus. That's where fulfillment lives, not in measuring up, but in showing up for your unique calling. Pain is not a punishment, it's a signal. It's life's way of shaping you, of stripping away your comforts, so that what remains is only what's real, what's strong, what's necessary. Too many people view pain as a reason to stop, to retreat, to give up. But pain is not a wall, it's a mirror. It shows you what you're made of. It reveals the gaps in your character, the weaknesses in your mindset, the flaws in your foundation. It's uncomfortable, yes. It's overwhelming at times, but it's also one of the most powerful tools you'll ever encounter, if you're willing to use it. Most people run from pain, they numb it, hide it, pretend it doesn't exist. But the ones who grow, the ones who rise, are the ones who lean into it. They sit with their discomfort. They ask the hard questions. They don't just try to escape their struggle. They extract the lesson from it. Because they understand that pain is the process of becoming. You don't become stronger by avoiding hardship. You become stronger by enduring it, surviving it, and allowing it to teach you what comfort never could. The moments when life feels heavy, when everything seems uncertain, when it feels like you're alone in the fight, that's where resilience is born. There's something powerful about hitting rock bottom and choosing to rise anyway. There's a fire that pain sparks if you let it. It can fuel your discipline, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your mindset. Pain reminds you why you started. It gives your struggle meaning. It puts pressure on your potential and demands that you respond, not with fear, but with courage. It's in the moments of pain that your excuses fade and your grit is revealed. You realize you're not as fragile as you thought. You realize that setbacks don't define you. Your response does. And when you decide to keep going despite the pain, you build something unshakable within yourself. The growth that comes from pain isn't always visible right away. Sometimes it shows up later, in the way you handle stress, in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you stop seeking comfort and start seeking challenges. Pain changes you, but it doesn't have to break you. It can refine you. It can strip away the distractions and show you what truly matters. It can help you find clarity in chaos, and when you stop viewing it as something to fear and start viewing it as something to fuel you, everything shifts. Pain becomes part of your power, not your prison. Every adversity you've faced has prepared you. Every loss, every failure, every disappointment. It's all been building you, not breaking you. And when you start owning your pain, when you start telling yourself that this isn't happening asterisk to asterisk you, but asterisk for asterisk you, you unlock a level of resilience that most people never access. You become a force that doesn't fold. You become someone who doesn't just survive storms. You learn how to dance in the rain. You learn how to keep walking through the fire, knowing that what comes out on the other side will be stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than ever before.